Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tilting Ground Untitled Notre Dame USC Football Podcast. I'm Michael Muto. I'm here with Greg Falong. Happy Halloween, Greg.
Happy Halloween, buddy.
All right, we're recording this on Monday, so um, football was over the weekend. Today's Halloween and trick or treat and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of trick or treat, I want to change things up a little bit today.
Okay.
I want to start with something I talk about with lots of people on pretty much any subject, not just sports or Notre Dame football or USC football. I kind of wanted to ask you, Greg, where do you get your Notre Dame information from? I think that might be of service to the listeners. And I would tell the same for USC. Maybe a couple websites, then some Twitter feeds, things like that. And we'll kind of go back and forth.
It's mostly all Twitter.
I mean, it is an amazing vehicle in
because
2016.
The websites, like, you don't need to go to a website because the people who run the websites are all on Twitter. So you just go to Twitter for everything. I don't learn anything about Notre Dame football from websites.
You know what? That's a lie, because once a week I learn something from uhnd.com.
Boom.
And that's the stock report for Notre Dame football.
That's right. But even then, like, I post it on Twitter. So
that's true. That is true. The link's on Twitter.
Yeah, like if you want to read it, it's much easier just to follow me on Twitter, and then I'll tweet it out, whenever it gets posted.
That's a great point. So who do you follow? Who are your go-to Notre Dame guys?
My go-to Notre Dame guys. I follow Pete Sampson from Irish Illustrated.
I think he's the best.
He's good. I mean, you should definitely listen to our podcast, but
right.
Yeah, but Irish Illustrated, they have a really good podcast. He's very like that team of people. So like if you wanted to follow like all the Irish Illustrated guys, it's Pete Sampson, it's Tim O'Malley, and it's Tim Priester. And they're basically like, they're the most pragmatic, I think. Like, they're not gonna put a positive or negative spin really on anything.
Yeah, that sounds right. They're pretty newsy.
Yeah, like they just kind of tell it like it is. They don't get all rah about anything, and they're not like super X and O, but they're pretty knowledgeable about what's going on like scheme wise. So they're a good follow. If you like that sort of thing, I follow Brian Driscoll, and he's a Blue and Gold Illustrated writer and analyst. He's very much like, he's a former coach. I think he's a former receiver coach and a former quarterback coach at like the D3 Division II level. So he's very heavy X and O. So if you like that, if you're into the kind of geeky football stuff, then he's a good guy to follow. And then I follow Mike Varell, who writes for the South Bend Tribune.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, he's very like, he's on the beat. Like he writes for like the South Bend newspaper. So he's like,
he's boots on the ground.
Yeah, like he does feature articles. All the press conference stuff. Like he has good relationships with the players and that sort of thing. So yeah, those are my main kind of.
Any players you follow? Last year I followed a bunch of the Notre Dame guys. This year I feel like they're a little more boring, and they've been losing. So.
I don't really follow players. Like, it's because it doesn't.
Because they're kids, it just makes you mad reading all the emojis and things.
Well, it's not sense. It's not why I use Twitter, right? So like,
right.
Like, Twitter to me is news. Like, that's where I'm getting my news from. So generally speaking, I don't follow like personalities per se, because they're not like, they just jam up the feed with stuff that I don't really care about. So like if I go to bed and I wake up, like, because Twitter is really weird, and I've actually like wanted to talk to just anyone about this, like to show more tweets. Like, if there's a bunch of tweets that you haven't, like, if you haven't checked Twitter in a long time, like it skips over tweets.
See, I don't use the Twitter app. I use a third-party app.
Oh yeah, and it like gets like,
because I don't like that.
Yeah, like the tweets get lost. They do this thing where
they show tweets twice sometimes.
Yeah, they show tweets twice, like what you might have missed, and it's like I just want to see all my tweets, like.
Yeah.
So, what's a third party app? What do you use?
I use Echo Phone,
Echo Phone,
and I know a lot of people use TweetDeck.
TweetDeck.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll have to check that out.
because it's more simplified for me.
I like Simple.
Yeah, that's what I'm about. So me for USC, everyone knows that my favorite is Inside SoCal, Scott Wolf.
Oh yeah.
If you're like a real big SC homer, you're not going to like Scott Wolf because he definitely has a negative spin on what's happening with the program. But I feel like his facts and information are correct. Just how he skews them is usually towards the negative. It's kind of his shtick. So if you know that's what you're going to get, like it makes it okay.
Right.
If you're looking for rah stuff, definitely don't go to Scott Wolf. Our friends at Rainer Troy, I think they do a lot of content, so they always have new USC stuff.
Friends of the pod.
Friends of the pod. So they always have, they'll have lists, they'll have game recaps, they give out grades, they live tweet the games.
Their live tweeting is pretty entertaining.
Yeah, they do a good job with that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else I really like out here. Message board wise, I feel like that stuff kind of gets in the lurch a little bit.
Yeah, I don't.
And there's a lot of wasted time. Players, I think besides Dory Jackson, there's no point in following any other USC guys.
Because
I think he knows he's kind of famous, so
yeah,
he tries to have a little fun with it. Let me see. But other than that, I think Scott Wolf is probably. I think he's the best one. He's always tweeting. He's always around. Who's the LA Times had a college football guy whose name escapes me at the moment, but now he does a lot of Rams stuff. So it's kind of like,
I feel like Ryan Abraham is pretty.
Oh, Ryan, yeah, he's another good one.
Yeah.
He does. I think he's We Are SC.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's a beat guy. He seems pretty plugged in.
Yes, he's another good one.
Yeah.
But other than that, Twitter's where it's at.
Yeah.
All right. I just wanted to change things up at the beginning of the show, get things rolling before we head into the games.
I'm in.
So, I think we should start with USC because that was the farthest away, and everyone's brains are probably the foggiest about it. It was a Thursday. It was good for USC, I guess. I just want to know. A 7:30 game, man. I'm gonna be completely honest. I fell asleep.
I watched maybe like the first few drives, and then I just kind of followed along on Twitter because like right away you could tell like, oh, Cal's not at this game right now. Like they're there, but they're not.
Right.
And it was only going to go one kind of way, and it was funny because you sent an email to me and Tim saying that the line had gone up to 20. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, even like just the number itself is like a crazy number given that they had the same record going into the game. But then like it was 14. So for it to bump up 6 points, like I'm not a big gambler, but that seems like a ton. So I sent you an email like, did someone get hurt? Like, what's going on here? And like in last week's podcast, like we didn't even consider the fact that it was an early game. It was early, like a short week for Cal, and USC was coming off a bye. Like I didn't even think of it.
I mentioned it.
Did you?
Like in passing though. It wasn't like
it didn't even like occur to me like that would make such a big difference. And then like Cal had like their best offensive player was hurt.
Yes, that doesn't help the Bears.
No, it doesn't. Especially when. Go ahead.
The only thing that helped the Bears was that Sam Darnold likes to fumble.
Yeah.
Which might be a bit of a problem. Like it was fun for the first couple games. Like, oh, he's just getting used to playing quarterback. But now, like 2 fumbles a game seems like the norm.
It's kind of a thing.
That's not a good thing.
No.
I mean, one wasn't totally his fault. Like, the pass rusher got around the edge and popped the ball out. But still, when you're known for fumbling, that you can't. All the fumbles count when you do them.
Yeah.
So that might be a little bit of a problem. As Greg would say, he's got to become a two-handed monster.
Look, I've been through that. Like Like in 2014 when Everett Golson was like started off really good and then he started fumbling all the time, but they were still winning. So it was kind of like, haha, that's fun. And then
You just know that
it started costing them games.
it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, not fun.
I mean, Cal has I don't think that's the proper verb, has the worst running defense in NCAA. So
It
USC,
showed.
Ronald Jones, finally got off for a big
Broke
game,
out.
over 200 yards. Cedric Ware had over 100. Like, there was no stopping the running game.
I mean, as a team, they ran for 398. So, far and away their best effort on the ground this year.
I think it's their best effort since like 2003 or something.
Yeah,
some crazy long time.
That's crazy. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Like I'm a poo-poo on this game, but in no way does it take away from USC because it's not their fault. Like they didn't make the schedule, and you show up and play the game that they scheduled you to play. So like SC did what they had to do. Like I'm not trying to put salt on this victory for them, but like,
yeah,
how does this happen? Like, what is?
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay,
let's just that'll be our bow on this.
It just
the much maligned Darius Rogers had a big game.
You know what? I will say this more than anything else. Darius Rogers and Deontay Burnett are the thing that scares me the most as a fan of the opposite team, like a team that's a rival.
Well, I was gonna say because I feel like Deontay Burnett's like your guy. You were making fun of him a couple weeks ago. That with the emergence of Sam Darnold, his game's like skyrocketed.
Well, both of them. I mean,
yeah, both of them.
They both, and you know what? Like you can just tell, like they are brimming with confidence. You can just see it. Like their body language is so much more now. It's a real problem because we talked about last year. They had Juju, and then that was it. They didn't have,
and that's all they threw to.
Yeah, and
so you didn't even know if they had other guys really.
And they weren't. They didn't like. I feel like I don't want to say the plays that they called, but they didn't really give those guys like opportunities.
Right?
Like,
no, they didn't. They sure didn't. It could have been Kessler's fault. It could have been play calling. Who knows? But those guys did not get good looks.
I mean, Darnold, he looks better than Kessler did at any point last year, in my opinion.
For sure.
So, he continues, like, it's the same story with him over and over again. Like, he's not playing great defenses, but, like...
And he gets good yards. Like, he does what he's supposed to.
Yeah, like, exactly. Like, he looks exactly how you're supposed to look against bad defenses. Like, I've seen our quarterback play some bad defenses, and he's lost games. So, I continue to be very impressed with him. And, with Chad Wheeler, like I feel like with him coming back, like the offensive line looks really good now.
I think that might have something to do with the bad defenses.
But still, like again, same thing. Like
right, you're doing what you're supposed to do.
Notre Dame's playing a bunch of bad defenses too, and they're not doing what SC is doing.
That's true.
So, like this is the same argument that I used to make about like Ohio State, like 2 years ago when they won the national title and they had that weak schedule. But it, he was like, well, they're who are they playing? Who are they playing? We kept saying that over and over again. And at some point, it's like, well, but you're still doing it. Like,
right.
No matter who you're playing, like you're still doing the things that you need to be doing.
And you're winning in convincing fashion. It's not like you're eking these games out.
Right. So, I continue to be very concerned about a blowout on Thanksgiving weekend for not my team.
The offense just seems to be looking better and better. Another tight end touchdown, which I love. So that's like 4 weeks. That's everything. Every week Darnold's been back.
Yeah.
Back. Every week Darnold started. I think they've had a tight end touchdown, which is just another wrinkle.
Yeah.
Juju kind of had a slow game, but he didn't have to do anything, so that's fine.
Right.
Like, what are you supposed to do?
It's almost a good thing.
Yeah. Adoree Jackson has looked a lot better at cornerback. And the announcers said something about how, I feel like players should do this all the time, but how he really worked hard on his DB skills in the offseason, which I don't know when he found the time since he was trying to compete in the Olympics. But I feel like, we gave him a lot of flack for not being the best cover corner in the world.
We did.
We still do. But
well, it should be noted that their best player wasn't playing.
True. But I felt like he played a pretty good game at corner, especially for a team that throws the ball around so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
good for him.
Yeah, he looks better than last year. Another thing I like about Adoree Jackson is last year on special teams, I felt like he was just a home run hitter. Like he's going for touchdowns. He's if it's not a touchdown, his punt return choices weren't the best. His kickoff return choices weren't the best.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, I feel like he really honed that in too. Where now he gets the ball, he's just looking to gain positive yards, and he's such a good athlete that when he looks to gain positive yards, it's not like 5, it's like 25.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting these punt returns that are maybe they're not touchdowns, but they're these 20, 25-yard returns that definitely helps the offense out.
Mm-hmm.
So good for you, Adoree Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, stepping up. That's what upperclassmen need to do.
Exactly. If you're listening to the broadcast, if you listen to the podcast first, we played a fun game. We tried to compare Sam Darnold to current quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you listen to the broadcast, they said, I don't remember which guy it was, but someone compared him to Jameis Winston, which I thought was a little ridiculous, but I thought it was funny considering we had just done it a couple days before.
I mean, yeah. I don't know.
Jameis won a Heisman and a national title.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that.
I'm sure what you said is, guys, if you really watch the film, he's like a more mobile Major Applewhite.
I just don't. I think we can stop comparing. I don't like comparing.
I don't either, but you have to do it. I mean, it just gives you something to talk about. It helps you highlight your points. I think if you do a good job of it, if you just say, he looks like Jameis, it doesn't really help me much. But if you say maybe a why,
that's fine.
That could be a little more helpful.
I think football announcers and basketball too, baseball, I can kind of see, and it's if you're gonna do something like that, like Vince Scully obviously is Vince Scully, right? And he'll tell his story and whatever. But it's a football game. There's so much to talk about, in terms of just strategy and what just happened and what could happen. There's too much storytelling, just period. And this has less to do with this broadcast and just my beef with stop telling me stories. I feel like Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler, I think they do a really good job of just kind of explaining the game and breaking down the game and breaking down what happened and what happened. When you're getting into the territory of what he reminds me of? He reminds me of Jameis Winston. And it's well, what?
What's the value add there?
Yeah, I don't. Just tell me what's going on in the game, please. I don't need your comp. Don't need it. Don't want it.
Maybe it's just a crutch for the announcers.
I frequently am bitter at all announcers, so that's just me.
I think it's kind of a thankless job, but they could also do better at their thankless job.
I don't know if it's thankless. I mean, like I just said, Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler do a good job. I think Vern Lundquist and Gary Danielson. Now Gary Danielson is a little too he's a little too I know what the player's thinking in this position. It's no, you don't. But at least they're basically a B version of Fowler and Herbstreit. So I don't know. I mean, I'm stuck with freaking Doug Flutie. So
that is true.
Jesus, God, he's terrible. God, he's so bad. Jeez.
Anything else happen on Sunday or Thursday that stood out to you? For USC?
I mean, I didn't. Like I told you, I tuned it out, man. I just, I got to put my daughter to bed.
Some good podcasting there.
We're just pros.
Uh,
We're pros.
Professionals. I really think that was it, man. It was USC got the job done. They scored when they had to. They should have won by more. They blew a couple good opportunities, but that stuff happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for that to happen in a game when it's like you're gonna win anyway. Like you're still like what was the end up final score being?
42-24?
No, 45-24.
45-24, sorry.
I remember because Tim called it exactly, I believe.
Yes.
And he sent us many emails telling us
He did.
that.
He made sure everyone knew. He actually had the time. But
it's like, you throw away a bunch of possessions and it's like you win by 21.
Right.
No. That's perfectly fine. I mean, frankly, it's a sign of a good team. So reader email before we step away from the Cal game. Mhm.
Reader email. This one comes from my mother, who for some reason sent me an email about how with the Cal coach's complaints about playing on a short week on a Thursday against a team coming off a bye, which she captioned "sour grapes." And I was like, well, no. So I think now is the time where we talk about how that really is unfair for Cal. And what is the Pac-12 doing? Like this is not okay.
It's totally unfair. Like what? Like first of all, none of these college teams should be playing on short rest anyway. Period. Like ever. Like it shouldn't be one like both teams. Like these are college kids. Like you're not paying them. They don't have. They have staffs like training staffs. They have these things, but they don't have like 24-hour access to,
I mean, even if an NFL team
trainer.
had to do this, it would be kind of dicey.
Yeah, like they don't have access to team trainers. They don't they can't just get this therapy, the way that a professional can. You just can't. And then
they can't practice as long. So I guess they can't.
Yeah, like you can't have
less time with the coaches.
Yeah, like you can't have extra walkthroughs. Like there's travel. They have class. They have, places they have to be that have nothing to do with football. It's not like they're professionals in terms of their eating. Like you just can't put college like amateur athletes in a situation like this. Like
no, it was just wild to me that the Pac-12 thought that was a good idea.
And that just has. That's irrelevant from the fact that USC had a bye. Like one team has 5 days rest, the other team has 12. Like
that makes it just that much worse.
It's a total travesty, and just don't like. I'm not a pay players to play or anything. I'm not on board with that. But then you can't throw this stuff in their face. Like you can't just be a total hypocrite about the fact that like, yeah, we're just using these players because on Thursday we want good ratings, so we're going to put USC on television. Kind
of a rivalry,
like it's ridiculous. It's an embarrassment, and the fact that you're going to get upset if one of these players has a meal bought for them, but you're putting their bodies at risk.
When the Cal guys were dropping like flies.
Yeah, of course.
It's like shocking
that these college kids who aren't used to the quick turnaround are getting hurt in this game. I can't take the Pac-12. I can't take the NCAA. I can't take these people seriously when this is going on. So I mean. And like the guy for ESPN, like he wrote the article. I don't know if I sent it to you, but it's like, yeah, Cal was undermanned and fatigued, but it wouldn't have made a difference.
It's like that's not the point.
What does that even mean? Like, how do you?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it made a difference, and like, how do you know? Like, what? It's like one team has a decided disadvantage.
Right.
That kid, they were in the boxing match, and one guy had one hand tied behind his back, and he got knocked out. But it probably wouldn't have mattered anyway.
I mean, honestly, it probably wouldn't, but doesn't matter. Like, it's still not okay to do that to Cal.
Right.
Like
yeah, maybe they would have given up more rush yards, like the same amount of rush yards, but maybe they would have, reacted.
Maybe their best receiver could have played.
Yeah, like I just don't, so stuff like that when that goes on. Like I didn't even know something like that was possible. Like maybe it goes on in other conferences and you just don't hear about it, but it's just not cool.
I mean, there had to be another team coming off a bye to play that Thursday game.
Right. Yeah.
There just had to be.
Yeah.
Just not cool, Pac-12.
Yeah. Shocking.
And the game before Cal combines for the most plays ever in a college football game. So, like, they're going to be tired.
Right. And, obviously the Pac-12 can't predict that, but still. You just – like, who are you thinking of? Are you thinking of the quote-unquote student athletes?
Thinking of that cash register.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the team Cal set the record with for most plays in the game, the Oregon Ducks, come down to the Coliseum this weekend and play the Trojans. Oregon's not their usual self.
No.
So I'm not sure what to expect, to tell you the truth. They could score. And even then, they haven't been that good at it this year.
I'll tell you what I expect.
Yeah, probably more of the same. Well, I'll tell you what Las Vegas expects. The USC Trojans, it's homecoming, are a 17-point favorite.
Yeah.
So that's right around where Cal was. I feel like Oregon and Cal are the same kind of team.
Yeah.
The only hope Oregon has is if they break out the all-white uniforms.
The all-white or the, like, platinum?
Like the real shiny, like silver ones?
Yeah.
I like the all-white.
Mm.
The Stormtrooper one, I believe is what they call it.
Mm.
I'm a fan of that. But yeah, I can't imagine. I guess I'm not going to imagine it. But it seems like it's going to be more of the same for SC with Darnold just rolling along, the offense humming. I don't know if Justin Davis is going to play. I mean, if maybe he suits out, but if they don't need him, I wouldn't rush him back.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they even would.
I believe this game's at noon. I didn't write that down. But it's at the Coliseum, so if anyone's interested, it's homecoming. If anyone's interested in going, you say they should check it out. Oh no, it looks like what is it, like 4 o'clock game. All right.
That sounds right.
That doesn't sound right though. And then I know
it kind of does if it's homecoming. And
then USC Washington is going to be a 4:30 game the week after. They announced that.
Big one.
Big one. That's the big one.
Big one.
So, Utah lost for all the USC fans scoring at home. Utah lost to Washington, so that's good for USC.
They lost on a shaky punt return. My goodness.
Special teams, man.
I counted 4 penalties uncalled on the punt return for a touchdown that won Washington the game. Not that they wouldn't have won anyway, but still.
Not the point.
Jesus. Referees, man. Anyway, moving on. I think I'm giving the points.
Giving the points?
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the points just to be difficult.
Okay.
Just because I did it last week and it didn't work, so I'm gonna try it again.
I mean, they can still win by 2 touchdowns. So.
Yeah. This thing's probably gonna move to like 24 by game time.
Right.
So we shall see. All right. So I don't think there's any fun USC news and notes. There's not much going around campus. All right, let's switch it to the Fighting Irish.
They're on a 1-game winning streak, Mike.
So I just want to take you to where I was when I was watching the game.
Okay.
So I was kind of watching out of the corner of my eye, doing stuff, and fast forward, just go right to the end. So the game is tied. Notre Dame is on like the 3-yard line, it's like 3rd and 3, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they throw a screen pass to the tight end.
Mm-hmm.
And this kid's running free, and he goes to dive into the end zone. And some Miami player hits his helmet right on the ball. The ball shoots out.
Mm-hmm.
I like blacked out. I was like, oh my god, Greg's dying right now. I was so worried for you. You have no idea. I was so worried. Like that moment, that when the ball was bouncing around and kicking off players and stuff, it felt like, I don't know, 5 minutes for me. I was like, this is just gonna ruin Greg. If they get the fumble back, they probably score and win. If they don't, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen when we record this podcast. So, spoiler alert: DeShone Kizer recovered the fumble, and all was well in Notre Dame land.
Well, a couple things. So first one, I want to highlight the play call because I thought it was exceptional, and they normally don't come up with a play like that works. So, kudos to them. As far as like it didn't freak me out. Like any normal
Were you
season,
numb?
yeah, like any normal season probably would have. I would have lost my mind, but like you forget, like the reason that they were in that position anyway is because our punt returner. Did you see what he did?
I do not recall off the top of my head.
Oh, okay. So they were up. No, they were tied at 20. And Miami was punting to Notre Dame, and the punter punted it short. And the punt returner's, signaling for everyone to get away from it. And he's at like, I don't know, the 10-ish. And then the ball bounces, and it's kind of bouncing toward him. And he doesn't want it to get towards – and he called a fair catch, by the way. And he doesn't want it to get towards the goal line because Miami's players are standing there. So he wants to catch it, before it keeps bouncing towards the goal line.
All right.
But he tries to catch it and fall at the same time because I think he's afraid he's going to get hit even though he called a fair catch. And so he's going to catch it and falling, and he juggles the ball and hits it into the end zone. And Miami recovers in the end zone for a touchdown. And that's how Miami took the lead.
Wasn't that 27 straight points?
Yeah. So when that stuff's going on, like a fumble at the goal line, like that happens, right? Fumbles at the goal line happen, especially when someone's trying to reach the ball out. So, I've personally never seen like a muffed fumble back into the end zone for a touchdown, like on that kind of play. So
yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that before either.
Yeah,
actually.
So when something kind of like something catastrophic happens that's kind of conventional, that's nothing. So I'm glad Notre Dame recovered. They managed to not score a touchdown, but it all worked out in the end. So hooray!
Hooray! The happiest man when the field goal went in, the winning field goal went through, was Mike McGlinchey.
Very good.
I mean, he just about tackled the kicker.
He was very excited.
He was so excited. So how did Notre Dame blow this? Because they were up 20-0.
Yeah. I mean, they blew it how they always blow it. I mean, first of all, Miami basically no-showed.
Did they have like 6 yards rushing or something
in
at
the
halftime?
First quarter? Yeah. I mean, they were terrible. I mean, Deron Jones, a defensive lineman, he had 6 tackles for loss in the game. I mean, it gets lost because Notre Dame's good. I mean, terrible, and so is Miami. But I mean, it was probably the best defensive line performance that I've ever seen from a Notre Dame player. So Miami couldn't do anything. Notre Dame kicked some field goals when they didn't need to be kicking field goals. And then, it was 20-0, and then it all kind of turned around when Miami punted, and again, it kicked it short, and Notre Dame player wasn't looking, and it hit him. And Miami recovered, and like 3 plays later, they scored a touchdown. And then after that, the offense stalled again, and it was kind of like Stanford, really. Like the offense stalled, and the defense didn't play terrible, but like the offense went like 2 quarters without scoring any points. So
what are they supposed to do?
Right. Like, so, I mean, at some point you're going to give up points, especially when you throw the ball into the end zone and as a punt returner, and then you give up a short field on a. So, I mean, the defense gave up like 300 yards of offense. Like, they weren't the problem at all. So, it's a team that's shell shocked. They were basically waiting for something bad to happen.
And sure enough.
Yeah, and it did. So, I mean, kudos to them for figuring it out and pulling out the victory, because it certainly seemed like it wasn't. It certainly seemed like
it did seem like they're about to lose another one.
Yeah, in like a terrible way. So, there's something to be said for just finding a way to win a game in any way you can.
I mean, that's got to be helpful for everyone's just confidence.
Yeah, I mean, it's just because they're playing so like DeShone Kizer, he's like, I didn't think it was a good game for him. He had a good first quarter, but he just, he's missing throws. He's missing open receivers. He looked like in the middle of the third quarter, he looked completely out of sorts again, like just lost, not knowing who to throw to when he's making throws, like they're inaccurate. I mean, it just seemed like he was checked out. And then they came back basically on a bunch of run plays. So
Josh Adams had a good fourth quarter.
Yeah, finally. I mean, They finally decided like, hey, the running backs are in fact useful. So, it doesn't really like nothing that I saw from the offense makes me think like, oh, okay, like this team's ready to turn it around. The defense, like this is their third straight good performance. So I think it's safe to say, like,
they've kind of not righted the ship, but they're competent.
Yeah, like they're not costing them games.
They're not the sieve they used to be.
I mean, they gave up 2 touchdowns, like basically. Well, okay, we'll call them 3 touchdowns in the last game. And then they gave up 1 to Stanford and 0 to NC State. So, I mean,
that's fine football.
You should be taking that, like, in any circumstance. So, special teams is just a disaster. Like, I don't think you saw the Miami onside kick.
I did not.
Okay, so Miami kicked an onside kick after they went up 20-7, and Notre Dame's player didn't run after the ball. He saw it. He definitely saw it, and he didn't even leave early, but he reacted to it like it was a punt, like he didn't have to go get it. And everyone says, well, I mean, their special teams coach is awful. It's like I didn't know you had to tell a player to jump on an onside.
Right. Like I thought everyone knows. Like that's live.
Yeah, like that's you learn that when you're 14. Freshman year in high school, and people, and it was a freshman, and people say, oh, it's a freshman mistake. It's like, well, he was a senior in high school last year, and a mistake like that would be unconscionable for a senior in high school. Like these are like this is basic, so when they're making these basic errors, when they're getting hit with the punt and they're not looking for it. Like that stuff happens like once every 5 years. And now it's happened twice in a 7-game span. Like it's
right. This is embarrassing.
It's getting a little ridiculous. And it's just kind of indicative, I think. Maybe
this is the rebound they needed to fix some stuff, I guess.
Well, I mean, you got the 2 service academies. If you win both these games, you're at 5-5. And if you win one of the next 2, you're going to a bowl game. So, I mean, that's
nice.
I'm always in favor. Like they could go to a bowl game as a 5-win team, and I'm all for it.
You're not one of those Notre Dame's too big for bowl games.
Look, the players are on scholarship to play football. They should be playing football. That's how I would look at it. Like
I agree.
Yeah, like as a player, like look, I have a finite amount of opportunities to play,
Well,
right?
as a fan too.
Right, but for the players, like they don't get to choose when they leave. Like they leave when their eligibility is up. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I mean they do choose when they leave, but like if they can't choose to stay indefinitely, they cannot. You know, they have X amount of games. So I say play as many as you can.
Get that bowl game swag. You
Yeah.
know, get all that cool stuff you get in the duffel bag when you roll up to the Pinstripe Bowl.
I I'll put it like this. I'll put it like this. And maybe it's not like this at other schools. And I know Notre Dame has a standard and that's great. But I think the Notre Dame acceptance rate for the student body is around 10% of all applicants. Um, I imagine that a vast majority of the football players would not be in that 10% were it not for them playing football. So you should not be in the position to be opting out of games. You are there to do a thing and you should do it out of respect for the fact that like you're at a school that you would not normally be at under different circumstances. That's my opinion. Play the games.
Play the games.
As many as you can.
That's what we're here to watch football. We're here to talk about football.
Yeah.
We're not here to worry about people's legacies.
As many as you can. Because I tell you what, Michael, if Notre Dame's not in a bowl game, it's going to be very boring on this podcast.
That is true.
Because I'm going to have to only talk about USC, and that's dumb.
Well, the coaching search maybe. We have a lot of Notre Dame coaching search talk.
Oh.
If Notre Dame's not in a bowl game.
Oh. No, I think now they're gonna win at least 4. I think if they'd lost to Miami, then it definitely would be in play. Like it's definitely in play. Because I tweeted it out, like, dude, the athletic director is not gonna see 4 more games of this and and be like, yeah, it's fine, like a mulligan year. Like, no, that's not how it would have gone. But since they won the game, they have a chance to it. I think they have probably like a 60% chance to go 5-7, like a 30% chance.
That sounds doable.
6. Yeah. So
next week, one of the games that they could win is against the Navy midshipmen, one of Notre Dame's rivals. Are they doing anything fun for the game?
In terms of like what?
Well, I know last year they wore like the same uniforms, except
they wore the same shoes.
Yeah,
something goofy like that.
Or no, it was the same undershirt. Like it was the same like socks, shoes, long sleeve jersey thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think so. I haven't heard.
I haven't seen anything either.
Yeah.
So Navy lost. Navy was ranked to start last week. Then they lost to Florida, Central Florida.
Yeah, they lost 52
South Florida,
to 45.
So now they are unranked. I don't know if that's good or bad for Notre Dame.
I don't think it matters.
Okay. So Las Vegas says that Navy is coming to Notre Dame, so they'll be in South Bend. And
No,
Notre Dame,
not.
They're not?
I'm pretty certain they will not be playing in South Bend.
Where are they playing?
Not in South Bend. They played in South Bend last year. They're probably playing at a like East Rutherford or something.
Huh.
Yeah.
This says they're playing in Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, see, there you go. It's probably no, it's not. Either way, they're not playing in Notre Dame. Wherever they're playing.
Sportsbook.com, you lied to me. Anyways, all right. Well, Notre Dame's a 6.5-point favorite.
Huh. That's interesting.
It opened at 4.5.
And then it jumped up to two more points for Notre Dame, huh? That's interesting. I'm going to take the points. They're going to win by like a field goal.
I think they win. I think they start to roll now. The,
Navy's tough, man. It's
the
hard.
triple option.
It's hard to keep them down. I mean, they already whipped on Houston. It's just, especially this Notre Dame team, like they have so many young guys, like especially in the secondary, like they're used to convention. They're used to teams doing things conventional, and especially against okay, so who did they perform well against? Like they performed well against NC State in a hurricane. They've performed well against Stanford, who is very conventional in the way that they do things. And they performed well against Miami, who is very conventional in the way they do things. Like all the things that the other teams were doing, like Navy doesn't do any of that stuff. And they've likely never seen it. I mean, Notre Dame at times has like 4 freshmen in the secondary. Like that's not going to work against Navy. I mean, Navy is built to destroy teams like that. So, like all the stuff that Jerron Jones was doing, like he's not going to be able to do any of that stuff against Navy. Yeah, I just and Notre Dame frequently doesn't have good plans for Navy without all that stuff. So, hopefully they can score points because. Or you know what they need to do? They need to A, score points, and B, like they're not going to be able to just stop them. Like they need to force turnovers somehow. They need to force mistakes because
Disruption.
Yeah, just like stopping them outright. Like I just don't see it happening. If Navy's executing, then I don't see Notre Dame out executing them on defense. So, they need to find ways to disrupt them.
And it seems like Navy scores a lot of points, even when they don't win.
Right. And it's like they score a lot of points, and like they scored 45 last week and lost. So in Notre Dame's, like their offense has had a propensity to just stop scoring. Like they'll go two and a half quarters and just not score any points. So if you do that against Navy, you're going to be down 21. So. I'm just concerned, but I want to believe that they'll win the game. So I'll say they win by a field goal somehow.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out why this thing's in Jacksonville.
They never play it. Like, I don't know if Navy has like a home field or anything, but they never play there. They always play in like a pro stadium somewhere.
Okay. There's a strong military presence in Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
Navy versus Notre Dame in one of our nation's greatest cities, in one of our nation's greatest venues. It's Jacksonville Mayor Rick Catlett.
Jacksonville is one of our nation's greatest cities?
According to the mayor.
I don't usually see them in the top 20 on People magazine or something. Maybe I'll look closer.
Yeah, for sure. All right. I mean, sorry, I got distracted with this Jacksonville article. Sorry, everyone. I was just so floored by the glowing comments about the city of Jacksonville. I was beside myself. Yeah, I'm not with you. I think Notre Dame. I think they win by a touchdown, so that's why I'm giving the points.
It's so frustrating to watch Clemson play football, especially on offense. And all I think to myself is like, this is the way that Notre Dame could run their offense, and they don't. And it just makes me sad. Because like Deshaun Watson and Kaiser, like they have the same skill set. And
you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're the same.
I think Kaiser's probably a better thrower.
Well, generally speaking, I think Watson's a better player. Like, but they do the same things. Like they both have good arms. They can both run. And so, like, I just feel like Clemson, there's so much more dedicated to the run. Like that's part of their identity. Like they're going to run at you. And Notre Dame is going to throw 20 yards sideways on fourth and short and less than a foot and lose 6 yards. So that's what's frustrating. Yeah.
I want to clear one thing up. Navy
Okay.
plays at Jack Steffen Fields at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium in Annapolis, Maryland.
Yeah. I assume it seats like 30,000 people or something.
Doesn't say.
Yeah.
But they play Notre Dame in a pro stadium and they play Army in a pro stadium.
Right.
So they're rivals.
So
I'm sorry, I was just so infatuated with
no, you're good.
where Navy plays their home
So I
games.
was while I was waiting for you to get home so we could do this podcast, I was on YouTube. This is very off topic, but I just wanted to bring it up. I was on YouTube and I was watching a 16-minute video of all the non-offensive touchdowns that Alabama has scored this year.
Oh wow, this year?
Yes. 16 minutes.
Wow.
Notre Dame has a similar 45-second video. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm curious how many Lane Kiffin shots were there in the video of the offense not scoring touchdowns?
I only remember one.
Okay.
I mean, these guys they have like at least two in every game. It's unbelievable.
That's what they want, that ball and they want to score.
It's incredible how they. I mean, they could beat teams just if they didn't play offense at all. Oh, it's incredible.
They are something else this year.
Yeah, Notre Dame has, I think, 2. So, both kick returns.
No defensive touchdowns for Notre Dame?
I don't think so. Not that I can think of. They almost had one against Miami. Kolu got tripped up at the 13, but yeah, I don't think so. No.
Huh. Well, good for Alabama.
Good for Alabama, man.
That they're number one with a bullet.
Those boys are playing a different game.
Any fun stories out of Notre Dame?
No.
No fun bye week stories about how the offensive line went camping and now they're all friends again.
No.
things like that.
I didn't hear that. Everyone was mostly upset that they didn't practice. I was fine with it.
That's good. No, you do have a fun Notre Dame story.
I do.
What Notre Dame story got you the most mad this week?
Oh, Torrey Hunter Jr. getting married?
Yes.
I just don't understand. Maybe it's a thing. Maybe guys get married in their bye week.
That can't be a thing.
I've never heard of it. I mean, when I was in junior college, I had to miss a game because my sister got married, but
a little different.
That's something you never hear. I've never heard of that before. Deshaun Kaiser is sitting this game because his sister's getting married. No, I mean, look, to me, it's not a 2-5 thing because he obviously, it's most likely he made these plans prior to the season starting.
Especially because it's on the bye week.
Right. But I just don't get it. What? You're scheduling a wedding in season?
Maybe they wanted autumn. They wanted the leaves turning in their pictures.
There are legitimately high school kids who won't go on recruiting trips because it's distracting to their football season, and this kid's getting married.
It's just very strange.
And but then it's I'm not surprised that a player on a 2-5 team would do that.
You're either coaching it or you're allowing it.
Yeah. So, hey man, happy.
I wish him all the best of luck.
I wish him the best in his marriage. His now wife is a very attractive young lady. So, best of luck to their future. That's all I have to say about it. I don't want to get too on much of a riff, but
I know it's not fair. It's not fair to pick on kids.
It's not, and not what I would have done, but
I'm sure Brian Kelly wasn't happy either.
Look,
But what are you
I
going
don't
to
care.
do?
I don't care. You want to get married, get married. Just block the corner on 4th and a foot. That's all I want.
That's true. Maybe it'll help him. Maybe he'll be more focused now.
Block that. Well, he didn't do it. That's what I'm saying.
Well, not this week, like in the coming weeks.
Oh, okay.
Now that it's over. Now that everything's past him.
Yeah. So,
I guess that's it. We need more listener emails. So email us your Notre Dame or USC or both questions, tiltingground@gmail.com. It's tiltingground@gmail.com. We'll say your name. We'll say where you're from. It's like you're part of the podcast if you send us listener emails.
Yeah.
Follow Greg on Twitter. Greg, what's your Twitter?
@Greg2126.
Follow me on Twitter. I'm Michael Muto. The Mindy Project now follows me for some reason. I don't know why.
Awesome.
I know. Moving up in the world, Greg.
That is special.
We're moving up in the world. Follow Tilting Ground on Twitter for all the latest podcasts, not only our own, the NFL podcast, or articles that show up on the website. We have a Tilting Ground Facebook page. That's where we post Greg's UHND weekly Notre Dame stock report. You can go to their website. You probably could subscribe to their website or subscribe just to Greg.
Absolutely, that is true.
Greg being an author. And
subscribe.
You'll see his stuff. Do we have anything else? What else do we? Oh, iTunes. Follow us on iTunes. Write a review. We haven't had a new review in a while. We'll read that on the air too.
Yeah.
So write us a review. Follow us on iTunes. We appreciate it. Like us on Facebook. Share us on Facebook. We appreciate that too.
Tell your friends, man.
Yeah.
Tell your friends.
This is grassroots. This is the people.
Exactly.
This is a podcast for the people, by the people, of the people.
The Populist Podcast.
Other than that, happy Halloween and fight on.
Go Irish.